Good morning. Today is the 22nd day, the 23rd day of, 22nd day of Cheshvan, the 6th of November. We're up to the second reading of Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. In the first reading, Avraham buries Sarah in the cave of the patriarchs, which he purchased from Ephron the Hittite. And in the second reading, the topic is Avram's decision that it is time to find a match for Isaac, for his son Isaac. Isaac was already 37 years old. And to do this, Abraham is going to send his servant Eliezer to where he came from, the city of Haran, which is in the northern part of Syria, southern part of Turkey. And he's going to look for someone from Avraham's family. The backdrop to all of this is actually not the passing away of Sarah as much as it is that it says, the verse we're going to read and we're going to look at is chapter 24, verse 1. And Abraham was old, of advanced years, and God blessed Abraham with everything. And the idea here is that because he was blessed with a son, it was now time to marry him and to get him a wife and to continue the lineage of Abraham. Interestingly, what we're going to look at today is something we haven't ever done before. And we don't do this often because I'll explain why in a moment. But we're going to learn a small section of what we call practical Kabbalah. And in general, Kabbalah is divided into two. There is what we call the intellectual, theoretical part, which is mostly what we do, almost everything. And then there is what's called practical Kabbalah. Practical Kabbalah has many, many dimensions to it. In general, almost everybody stays away from it. The reason is because we are impure. And by impurity we mean that we all carry with us the impurity of having been exposed to death. And death is the opposite of holiness. Holiness is by definition life. And so if a person was exposed to death in any way, and everybody is because we've all been to funerals, but actually even when we were born, if we were born in a hospital, then we were exposed to death because the hospital usually has people that pass away in it, and death, the impurity caused by death, propagates through empty spaces. And it also propagates on metal vessels and metal fixtures and so on. And so everyone is exposed to this. And beyond that, there's all the regular parts of life that make us impure. So, because of that, that's one of the main reasons it's given, because we can't purify ourselves from this form of impurity, from the opposite of life. So we don't engage in practical Kabbalah. But there are some small exceptions, because I said there's many dimensions to it. The dimension that was most commonly known to people, and so one that is maybe used the most, is called the swearing of angels, meaning that there are forces in the world that can be coerced in a certain sense, made to do things for the one who's practicing this. Very few people know how to do this properly. In fact, in this generation, there's probably not more than one or two, if at all. Most of this knowledge has been forgotten. And even what is known as practical Kabbalah has become, over the years, intellectual, meaning that it's studied by people who learn Kabbalah, who learn the Torah's inner dimension, but it's studied in the same way that we study every other part of Kabbalah, as an intellectual idea. One aspect of doing this is called kmeot, or charms. Charms that are written. They're usually written on parchment. They're folded up. They're put into a leather pouch. and people wear it either around their neck or something else. And from the Baal Shem Tov we learn something very powerful, that when it comes to kmeot, when it comes to these charms, the Baal Shem Tov always had the same, he always wrote the same thing on the parchment. All he wrote was his name, Yisrael ben Sarah. That was all he wrote. Why did he do this? Because he said that he's the master of the good name, and the belief, just having faith in the holiness of a tzaddik, of a righteous, pious person, that itself is the strongest charm in the world. And so he would only write his name, and that was all that was in it. And it it performed just as well as anything else. Again, because this knowledge is not practiced today. It's not. There's no one who really knows how to do it. In Chabad, in the tradition of Chabad, Lubavitch, which is the most intellectual of all the Hasidic traditions, obviously practical Kabbalah is not even a topic of study usually. And yet, there is an interesting exception that comes from the verse that we just read. And Abraham was old; he was of advanced years, and God blessed Abraham with everything. When do we use this verse, and what do we do with it? So we use this verse on every Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is the first day of the month. Sometimes it's 2 days, which really commemorates the day on which the moon is renewed. And obviously there's a very strong connection here, because we just said that this was the motivation behind Abraham's looking for a wife for Isaac. And in general, the feminine, is likened to the moon. So when the moon is renewed, that's a time for connection with the feminine. In fact, by many women, they don't do work on Rosh Chodesh. There's many women who are very pious, and they don't do anything. They don't do any housework on Rosh Chodesh. They treat it almost like a Sabbath. What is done at the end of the special Rosh Chodesh service called the Hallel? It says in the Siddur, in the prayer book written by the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, that you say this verse 3 times, and after you say it each time, there's a short prayer that says, Zvadia yishmereini v'yichayeni, that something called Zvadia will give me life and keep me, or will keep me and give me life. That's actually the order, and there's a few more words that we say, and then we beseech God that this will happen. And this is usually the formula found in practical Kabbalah when one uses a holy name of God. What do we mean by a holy name here? So this verse is analyzed in a certain way by the Kabbalists, that the name Zvadia comes out of it. And you can see the Z. The Z comes from the letter Zayin in Zaken, in old. The Bet, Zva, comes from the next word, Ba. So it's really an initials, but it's initials with a twist. And in fact, the next letter is supposed to be a Daled, but it's not. The next initial is not a Daled, it's a Bet. And the Kabbalists write, you get it from the Mem in the middle of Bayamim, of advanced days. Interesting thing, you take the Mem, and you, in a sense, take off its 0. So Mem is 40, if you take off the 0 you get 4, and 4 is the value of Daled. And then the Yud-Kei at the end, Zvadia, comes from and God. And God's name here gives the Yud and the Hey. So that's the way this is analyzed. Actually, if you ask any Chabad rabbi, I doubt that they will know where it comes from, because it's not something that's usually studied. If I wouldn't be with Rav Ginsburg, I wouldn't know either. I probably wouldn't open it up. The source is found in a number of books. Today I know that it's in a very important Kabbalistic work called Mishnat Chasidim. In his Gate of Rosh Chodesh, he explains many things about Rosh Chodesh. He explains this also. But like I said, the practical Kabbalah has become something intellectual, really, in our generation. So the question is, what does this name even mean? So this name Zvadia comes from the word Zevid. And Zevid literally means a gift. Leah said this when she gave birth to Zebulun. She said, Zvadani oti Elokim Zeved Tov. God is giving me a good present. And what is the good present that He's giving me? My son, Zebulun. So the idea here is that on Rosh Chodesh, we're being given, that's what we're saying, that this verse, and Abraham was old, he was of advanced years, and God blessed Abraham with everything. When you think about the content of the verse, this is seen as a verse that contains being blessed with everything. Right? That's the content. And so the Kabbalists, what they do is they try to extract, according to some logic that they usually only understand, and we can understand partially, that this has to do with the word present, Zevid. And then they add at the end God's two-letter name, Yud-Kei, Zvadia. And then you get this name. The reason we say this, I once asked Rav Steinsaltz many years ago, how can we say this? Isn't this the name of an angel? So he didn't answer fully. He told me, no, it's not a name of an angel, it's also a name of a man. And it's true. In Chronicles, there's a man whose name is Zvadia. But that's not the point. The point here is that it's not even the name of an angel. We're not saying anything to an angel. All we're saying is that on Rosh Chodesh, on the first of the month, we are receiving some good gift from God, and we want that gift to keep us and to enliven us. And what is this good gift? So obviously it has to do with the feminine. So Rav Ginsburg added to this a very interesting meditation on this, that the first three letters, Zevid, which by the way nobody knows exactly what it means, we've been translating it as gift, but because it's a singular word in the Torah, in the whole Bible, the word only appears one time, there's no way to fully corroborate what its meaning is. So even though most of the commentaries say it's a gift, it's not 100% clear. And so Rav Ginsburg added to this that Zevid, these three letters that make up gift, can also be the beginnings, the initials of the phrase, this is the son of David. Ze ben David. This is the son of David. Because we know that David is intrinsically linked to Rosh Chodesh, to the first day of the month, because kingdom, the feminine, is David's sphera. He is the archetype of the kingdom, the sphere of kingdom, the feminine in general, and he is renewed, his power of kingship, his power of sovereignty is renewed every first of the month. And so the idea here is that we all have a spark of Mashiach in us, we all have a spark of David within us, and David is the one who brings God's kingdom into the world. We all have a role in that. Every single person has a role in that. And so the gift we're being given on Rosh Chodesh, and it comes out of this verse, is the gift of revealing the divine spark, the spark of Mashiach within each and every one of us, and using it in the coming month in the best possible way. Now it happens to be that this week, on Shabbat, we will be blessing the new month of Kislev. It will be actually we won't be blessing the new. We will. This will be the new month, the blessing of the new month of Kislev. So this is very pertinent for next week when we have Rosh Chodesh. You can think about it then. And actually, if you say this after the Hallel, you'll probably be one of the few people in the world who understands why in the world in the Siddur it says to say this. Zvadia should bless me, should safeguard me and give me life, and so on. And this is where it all comes from this verse that describes the blessings, everything that was given to Abraham, and from which comes the match that Abraham made for Isaac with Rebekah. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you tomorrow.